Hello, everybody. Welcome in. All right, this is our first YouTube live, so we are hoping that we are going to see numbers popping into the screen. Where are we going to see, sweetie? Oh, all right, we are back. I think we just had a bit of a connection issue. All right, if you are just joining us tonight, feel free to post a comment in the chat. Let us know who you are. If you're on Poshmark, you can drop your closet name so that we can all follow each other. And guys, just so you all know, this is the first time that we've done one of these lives. And basically we might be having some internet problems. So if we're freezing or anything, please just let us know in the chat. Hey guys,
hey Daniela. Nebraska Hanger.
Amy, hello. And Aaron, guys, thank you so much for coming on. If we are having connection issues, most likely we aren't going to know. Joy, guys, Joy is my sister. So that's okay to say, Joy. Love you, Joy. If we are having connection issues, please just let us know in the chat, and we are just praying that we won't. Kat is here. Mother Deals from New Hampshire. Welcome in, guys. We are going to get started in just a minute here. We're about ready to bring Jennifer on. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We've been really excited for this live tonight. So basically, we want to welcome you here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for just being a part of our Tuesday nights. Hi, Allie. Thank you for coming in. Guys, feel free to post this link and share it with your friends. That's awesome. So we are just really briefly going to introduce ourselves, and then we're going to bring Jen up and have her introduce herself. And then, guys, we are just going to get down to it. We would recommend that if you have a notebook, Amy, thank you so much. That is so sweet. Thank you, Amy. Amy is one of our newer customers, and you have just been fantastic. Thank you. So guys, we would recommend just having a pen and a paper or a notebook or something to write with, or maybe take notes on your phone, just because this is going to be chock full of really good, helpful information. But also just rest assured this video is going to be up on our YouTube channel, and you can watch everything over again if you guys need to. So my name is Faith. I'm a full-time reseller. I have been for coming up on 5 years. And this is my husband. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Well, I'm the husband, Paul. I'm the accountant in the relationship. I come from a corporate accounting background. So Faith and I were able to work well together for building my Reseller Genie. And we're really excited to have a CPA. It's like a tax accountant and all around just accounting genius.
Yes.
Coming on to answer some questions. We got a lot of questions.
Yes, we got a lot of questions.
We're going through the questions in the order that we got them.
Yes.
So we haven't curated it by topic or anything like that. But
yep. So anyway, we are Faith and Paul. We're about ready to bring Jen on, but really quick, we just wanted to share very briefly about my Reseller Genie in case anybody knows. So my Reseller Genie is the accounting and analytics solution for resellers. Paul and I created it together. Again, because we have the reseller background and the accounting backgrounds, we just decided that would be a really good mesh, and that there was a huge need in the reselling community for something like this. So if any of you guys are unfamiliar, with who we are, just think of us like Quickbooks, but for resellers. We're tailored specifically to resellers, so we're able to help you in that way. So our website and all of our information and all of Jennifer's information is down below in the description. If you want to give us a follow, if you want to give Jennifer a follow, or check out her services, and we'll let her just go ahead and share with you guys a little bit about that. So let's go ahead and bring on Jennifer. And while we do that, I'm just gonna let you guys know what to expect for the night. So like I said, hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
It's great to have you here. Just what to expect for tonight. We're going to have kind of like 2 parts of questions and answers. It's going to be interview style. And kind of in the middle, we'll take a little bit of a break. But again, if you're just joining us, we recommend you having something to write with, because this is going to, thank you so much, Fuse Products. Yeah, this is going to be chock full of information. So we're going to start with the questions that we received from people. So a lot of people wrote in and already had questions. So we just ask for, if you are watching this live, if you have questions, just to sit back and listen first, because chances are, the questions that you have are already going to be addressed by Jennifer. And if they aren't, we're going to have time at the end for you to go ahead and write in any and all questions that you have in the chat, unless we are really, really running out of time. So, and then in that case, we might have to do part 2 if Jennifer would be up for that. So anyway, let's get started. Jennifer, can you just share a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So my name is Jennifer Monsos. I'm a CPA. I'm actually located in Wisconsin, on the Wisconsin-Minnesota border. But I do tax returns for home-based businesses all over the country. So I live in a little cabin in the woods, which you can see behind me. I'm probably an atypical CPA from those who you've met in the past. That's what people tell me anyway. And my regular job, we were just laughing in a tax appointment about my regular job. I'm a accounting professor in the Minnesota State College system. I teach accounting, introduction to accounting, financial managerial, business and economic statistics, and some other classes. I am also a reseller, and my husband and I, my husband and I have multiple businesses going. I always tell people not to put all your eggs in one basket. So we have a small construction business. We have a reselling business. We have a small farm. I'm a CPA and I teach. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm also a runner and a grandma and some other things. So anyway, that's me.
That is amazing. You have quite the resume. And guys, we
quite
will
a
just
crazy resume.
Yes, which I personally love. I'm a big fan of that. We will be kind of mentioning this throughout the night, but Jen has an incredible Facebook group that she just started in November. Jen, do you just really quickly want to just share about that before we get into the questions?
Yeah, so I started this Facebook group. I was looking at some comments on Facebook back in November. I was on my way to a women's empowerment group, and I saw this terrible tax advice in a Poshmark resellers group. And I'm like, I need to respond. So I responded, and then I started this group called the Resellers CPA while I was sitting at a table in La Crosse, Wisconsin, waiting on the speakers to start. And by the end of that day, we had 100 members in that Facebook group. And I think this morning we had 6,400 members. So
man,
we've got quite the group going. Yep.
That's incredible.
Awesome. Rapid growth.
Very, very rapid. And
all
Jennifer, yes, which is incredible too. And one of the reasons that I'm so just excited for tonight is that, I think the rapid growth that you've experienced just indicates how much of a need there is for good information, which is kind of like what you were saying in the very beginning. And I know, just as Paul and I have interacted with different resellers, when we're on social media and engaging with people, there's a lot of fear out there, and there's a lot of confusion out there, and people are just, they seem to just want to run away because, they don't have the right answers and stuff. So we are really, really excited for tonight. All right, guys, are you ready? We are going to get into it. First round of questions. Jennifer, are you ready?
I am ready.
Wonderful. Okay. So Paul and I are just going to go back and forth, and we'll just, Paul asked you something, then I'll ask you something.
Ping pong style.
Yes.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Oh, no, you go
first. All right. I'll go first. Okay, so how do you calculate cost of goods sold when going to the bins? Because they sell clothing by the pound, not item.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to preface all of this with, this is for educational purposes only. I cannot give individual tax advice on a group like this. Yes. So just with that knowledge, essentially what I do is I interpret the IRS code in the way that I interpret it, and that's the information I'm going to give you. So calculating cost of goods sold when you go to the bins. So let's say that you go to the bins and you spend $100 on clothes and other things, and you got 100 items and you paid for it by the pound. What you would do is you would take the total cost and divide it by the number of items that you purchased, And that would be your cost of goods sold per item. So if you spent $100 and got 100 items, that would be $1 per item would be your cost of goods sold. So there you go.
That was simple. We like simple.
Yep.
Good.
I do too.
Yes. All right. Next question. Do I use the cash method or the accrual method? What numbers are needed for each method? And sorry, Jen, let me kind of just went ahead a little bit. Can you, for anybody who's viewing, can you also, I'm sorry, could you start with explaining what the cash method is and what the accrual method is? Yes. Can we start there? Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. So the cash method is that you count income and expenses when you actually physically have the money in your hands. So if I hand you $100 to buy an item, that's $100 in sales. The accrual method is aligning your income and expenses into the period in which you earned them. So in that case, you sold an item, but you're not going to get the money for a week. You still claim it as income because you earned it in that period. So essentially, accrual is when you recognize it when you've earned it, not necessarily when you have the cash in your hand. Same with expenses. You recognize them as an expense when you expense them, when you've actually, used that, but you may not actually expend the cash for a little while. So from a reseller perspective, almost everything you do is cash basis, with the exception of inventory. Inventory is done on the accrual basis. What that essentially means is that you buy a whole bunch of stuff, right? You've got a whole bunch of stuff that you purchased. It's sitting in bins in your posh room. I call mine the posh room. So if I keep calling it a posh room, that's because we sell primarily on Poshmark. So I have all this stuff sitting in my Posh room that I've already bought, but I haven't sold it yet. So I don't want to recognize the expense on that until I actually sell the item. So this is why we keep an actual inventory list of the items that we have in inventory. When we sell them, we recognize the expense. So essentially the answer to the question is pretty much everything is cash. When you buy, let's say that you go out to Amazon and you buy your really pretty little envelopes or your bags that you ship things in, that's a cash expense. Inventory is the only thing that you're going to maintain on the accrual basis. And I've got some videos out in my Facebook group that talk about the whys of why you're doing inventory in this way. And we also have a course called Navigating the Schedule C that talks about it as well. So, but yes, everything pretty much is cash. I bought it, I paid for it, I expense it, I earned it, except inventory, which is done on the accrual basis.
Awesome. Very good. All right. Looks like we have a question from Joy. Joy, thank you so much.
We're going to hold it to the...
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. This is actually a good time to just kind of reset the room. Guys, if you're just joining us because it looks like we have some new viewers, thank you so much for taking part of your Tuesday night and coming to be with us to talk about the very, very fun subject of accounting and taxes. And I mean that. Okay, Paul and I, you call us nerds, but guys, once you, and I think, Jennifer, I think you would say the same thing. Once you understand this stuff, it is fun. And you realize how it can help you to grow and scale your business, because knowledge is power, numbers are power. Knowing your numbers is power. So anyway, if you're just joining us, thank you so much. We're Paul and Faith. We created My Reseller Genie, which is the accounting and analytics solution for resellers. And we have the amazing Jennifer Monsos, who is a reseller and a CPA on the call with us tonight. And we're just so excited. So guys, like I mentioned in the very beginning, if you have questions, we will go ahead and get those at the very, very end. Basically, some people already wrote in those, so we're going to address those questions first. And then at the very end of this, which, I mean, we're already flying through some of these quickly. So at the very end, you can drop your questions in the chat, or you can drop them in now, and we'll go back and answer them later. So thank you so much, guys. And we're going to get back to this.
Yeah. All right. So next up. Can I write off the cost of materials to build my office? Shelving, racks, backdrop, etc.
Yes. So this question always comes around, and you will see this a lot in my Facebook group to it depends as to how we do this. So yes, the answer to the first part is yes. If you are building a space specifically for your reselling, the costs involved in building out that space are a tax deduction. Now, if you are completely remodeling a room, we may have some items that we expense, like the shelves or maybe a clothing rack, all the hangers, those kind of things. And then we may have some bigger things that we would do what's called depreciating or taking them over time. So that is a question that, yes, all of those things are deductible. How we deduct them is a tax planning question. So if we're, like I said, if we're building out a room and you're a new reseller and we need some expenses going forward, we may choose some of that to depreciate. If you are buying smaller items that can be expensed, we're going to go ahead and expense those, but they are all deductible one way or another. We will deduct them.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That's good. All right. And then another deduction question. Well, actually, no, this is a little bit different. I saw someone claim that you can write off Poshmark's 20% selling fee. Is this true or not true?
Absolutely true. You did not get that 20%. You paid it to someone else. So what you are going to be paying taxes on, okay, let's say that I'm just going to give you a Poshmark item example. So you sell an item on Poshmark, and we're going to use round numbers just for ease. You sell an item on Poshmark for $100. There's a $20 fee. So $80 is what actually went in to your account that you can move into your checking. You only are responsible for paying taxes on the $80 minus whatever you paid for the item. So yes, the Poshmark fees are fully deductible as a business expense, and we just call them platform fees. That's what I classify them as on my tax returns.
Awesome. Thank you. Another simple answer. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So this one we did actually cover already, but I think it's so important that we should ask it again and have it covered again.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard that you can deduct all inventory costs at the end of the year. Is that true?
Okay. So here's the three numbers that you need. And I know you guys and I have talked about this a few times. You need your beginning inventory, your purchases, and your ending inventory in order to calculate your cost of goods sold. And what that does is it calculates the cost of the items that you actually sold in the year. We had like a big conversation about this in my Facebook group. Well, what if I bought, $10,000 worth of stuff, and yeah, I've still got some of it, but can't I just write it all off in this year? Well, technically, I suppose you can. And there's been some tax code changes that kind of allow you to do that. But here's kind of the backstory to that. So let's say that you bought $10,000 worth of stuff and you've only sold some of it. And you take all of that expense in year one. Couple of problems. First of all, you could have it could generate a loss on your tax return, which is fine. But next year, you are not going to have any expenses to offset against your sales because you already expensed them in the prior year. Some people will ask, what's the damage in that? Well, let me explain what the damage in that could potentially be. You could be over being able to get the earned income tax credit. You're not going to get it the year you showed a loss, and then you're not going to get it the next year because you showed too much income. So you could lose that. It could affect your child tax credit. It could affect your depending on what state you live in, it could affect a homestead credit or a property tax credit, all of those kind of things, because your income would be too high. If you're not paying any taxes at all that first year where you had the loss because you claimed everything, the next year you've got self-employment tax on all of it instead of part of it. So to be completely blunt, if you take your taxes somewhere and they're willing to write it all off, they're not doing you any service. They're doing what's easy for them, not what's in your best interest as a taxpayer. There was a law change last year that allowed you to do cash basis for inventory if it's incidental, meaning small, to your business. What is inventory to a reseller? It's your business. It's your whole business. It's definitely not incidental. So it may be easier to just write off all your purchases, but it could cause you some pretty serious tax ramifications down the road. So long answer to a short question, but I think it's an important one.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. That's really, really good. And again, guys, if you're just joining us, this will be available for replay because it is on YouTube, which is very exciting. All right, Jen, thank you so much for that. All right, next question. I've heard that deducting miles is a red flag to the IRS, and if you do it, they will audit you. Is that true?
No.
Okay.
That is not true. So you do want to keep track of your miles. And so if you haven't kept track of your miles, so let's say that you haven't kept track of your miles all year and you want to deduct miles and you're kind of panicking because you don't have any written record, but you do have several things. So in this age of Google, you can actually go and look at your Google travel history and it will tell you everywhere you went. You probably also have receipts from the post office, from Walmart, from the Goodwills that you went to travel to, from the bins that you went to, all of those things. Now, all you have to do is go to trusty old Google Maps and figure out how many miles it was from point A to point B and back. So deducting, let's say that you tried to deduct 100,000 miles and you had $6,000 worth of sales. This might, trigger the IRS to go, oh, wait, what's she doing? But if you have a couple thousand miles on $40,000 or $50,000 worth of sales, that's completely reasonable. So you just want to make sure that you have some kind of documentation for your travel. Personally, I just track by my receipts. And I typically go to the same places over and over and over again, which most of us do. And so that works for us. So yeah, mileage is definitely not a red flag that's going to cause an audit unless it's some obnoxious number of miles on a small amount of sales. Then maybe, but not if you're, within reason.
Sure. Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that. That's good.
Yep.
Okay. What would you say to a reseller who's completely freaked out and clueless over how to start accounting for their business?
This is such a funny question because I've gotten it okay, so I get the freaked out resellers in a tax appointment going, oh my God, what am I going to do? And here's the really basic answer to that question. You can go and print reports off of any of your platforms that tell you how much you sold. That will show you your fees. It will show what actually got deposited into your checking. So there's several ways to track things. There's, of course, the Reseller's Genie, which will help you to track things. If you're not ready to do that, you can use an Excel spreadsheet. I have people that use paper and pen. It works. When you go and you buy something, you write it down. When you sell something, you write it down. So essentially, I say take a nice big deep breath. It's okay. Even if you haven't, started, we can start now. We can either get you going on the Reseller's Genie. We can get you going on a piece of paper. We can get you going on a spreadsheet. But one way or another, essentially, it's going to be, here's what I brought in. Here's what I spent. Here's what I made. So that's kind of the ultimate bottom line to it. So yeah, I'm also a yoga teacher. So I'm always like, take a nice deep breath. Everything will be fine. And that's essentially it. So yes, don't be freaked out. I actually have a course too called the Financially Organized Reseller. If anybody's interested in that, it's an 8-week course that takes you from start to finish, gives you the basics of accounting, and just walks you through how to set everything up. So that's
Awesome.
available as well.
That's great. Thank you so much. Hey, Bridget, and hey, Cindy. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. All right, guys, we are almost done with part one of Q&A, and then after that, we're going to answer a few more questions, and then we will open up the floor on the chat if anybody has questions. So, Jen, this is great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I feel like this is a little bit of a repeat of a question, but I think that that the second part is going to bring some clarity for people. So for a reseller who is starting from tracking nothing for their accounting or taxes, what advice do you have for them? But the bigger question is, what is a simple breakdown of the exact numbers that they need to track in order to be covered?
Okay, so essentially you need what got deposited into your checking from your reselling. How many dollars actually did you make from your reselling? So this kind of goes back to that Poshmark thing. I sold a $100 item. They put $80 in my checking account. $80 is your income from that perspective. Then you're going to need to know how much you paid for said item. Okay, so let's say that you paid $10 for it. Now you made $70 on that item. Mm-hmm. Then from there, the next set of numbers that you need are your expenses. So that's going to be things like postage, if you had to pay any, which Poshmark covers it unless you do a discount. But if you paid any postage, if you bought some pretty little envelopes to ship things in, and if you buy thank you notes, if you have mileage back and forth to the post office, if you bought any other supplies for your reselling, those are the things that you're going to need. And the Reseller's Genie's got spaces for all of those things. So, getting some kind of a system in place, whatever system is going to work for you, is the most important part of the process, is to get that system in place. But it's how many dollars went into your account, how many dollars came out of your account. Those are the things that matter. Now, an easy way to keep track of that right from the beginning is to have a separate account that your income goes into and your expenses come out of, because then everything is very clearly there. So that would, probably be my first suggestion, is to open a separate checking account to put everything into and come out of.
Gotcha. That's great. That's good. Before Paul asks the next question, I just want to share something that you just said, Jen, and I've seen you post it on your Facebook group as well. And some of you guys might be thinking, "Oh my goodness, Faith is a horrible businesswoman because of what she's about to say." But something that you regularly say, Jen, is that the best accounting solution is the one that you're using, or the one that works for you. Now, personally, we believe that My Reseller Genie is the best out there, in the sense that we've created something, that gives resellers exactly what they need to account. At the same time, though, that might not be for you. And some people are savvy with a spreadsheet, or some people do, prefer this or that. So anyway, I really think that's really neat that you share that. And then that's kind of just to lead into the next question.
Yeah.
Do you think I could probably combine those two questions?
Yes, sure.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So what do you think of My Reseller Genie as an accounting software, and how does it compare to QuickBooks or Godaddy for resellers?
Okay, so here is a very simple answer to that question. QuickBooks and Godaddy, unless you have a high level of, well, I don't think Godaddy even has multiple levels, but QuickBooks, in order to track your inventory, you have to be spending like, I don't know, $50 or $60 a month on the software. And then it doesn't manage inventory in the way that My Reseller Genie does, because My Reseller Genie was specifically set up for resellers. So if you're going to use something like QuickBooks or Godaddy, you then have to maintain your inventory elsewhere in another program and do your calculating that way. But with My Reseller Genie, it's all in there. So your inventory is part of the process. And the reporting is much better. So it gives you the actual reports that you need. What is my cost of goods sold? What is my gross profit? And then you can calculate too, based on like department. So women's clothes, kids' clothes, men's clothes, baseball cards, you can set up your categories so that you can see what categories are selling better for me. How much better are they selling? What's my gross profit on this particular category? So that's why, especially for the price, for the price per month, it's going to do the things that as a reseller you need to see. So personally, I'm going to be a really bad QuickBooks Pro advisor right now, because I'm a QuickBooks Pro advisor. And QuickBooks for other things, I have realtors, I have daycare providers, I have small manufacturing companies that are using QuickBooks. It works for them. I use it for my accounting business. My husband uses it for his construction business, but it does not work well for resellers, and without a lot of finagling and using a high level of it.
Gotcha. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
And on that note, Jen, we're going to give you a little bit of a break. Drink some water if you need to, or some wine, whatever.
Okay. I actually do have wine over here because it is after 5.
Yes.
So.
There you go. There you go. I love it. Yeah, ours is sitting over there. I think we'll probably crack it open after this. So, all right, Jen, thank you so much for that. I'm going to just really quick reset the room. If you're just joining us, thank you so much for spending part of your Tuesday night with us. This will be available for replay. We are Paul and Faith, the creators of My Reseller Genie. Paul's an accountant. I'm a reseller. And then we have the amazing Jennifer Monsos here with us tonight, who is a reseller as well as a CPA. She has like 30 plus years of experience with helping resellers and other small businesses with their accounting and taxes. So we're really excited to have her here tonight. We just got through the first round of questions that people had written in. We have a few more questions after this. And then after that, we're going to open up the chat floor. Hey, the Foxy Vids, thanks for joining us tonight. So yeah, pretty soon we're going to be opening up the chat floor. So if there's any questions that have not been answered, you guys can write those in and we will get to those. But right now, just for a few minutes, we wanted to talk a little bit about My Reseller Genie. And I'm gonna let Paul do that because I've been talking a lot.
Sure, yeah. All right. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen and just go through a couple things. I don't want to do a full demo or anything like that, but one thing we mentioned earlier was reports. And so like for your business, there's a couple of reports that you're going to want as a reseller. So one is a profit and loss statement. And I'm pulling that up right now. Set these filters. All right. So you want a profit and loss statement, obviously. And that's something that gives you all of your revenue and expenses in one place. And it breaks it out into different categories. And so you saw how quickly I was able to run that for the full year. This is just test data. But if you're maintaining all of your accounting information in Genie, when you go to file your taxes, it's a couple clicks to get access to all this info. And then the other report, which is kind of a unique feature of My Reseller Genie, is the inventory report. So Jen mentioned earlier, there's 3 numbers that you're going to need as a reseller to report your cost of goods sold. And that's inventory balance at the beginning of the year, inventory purchases during the year, and inventory balance at the end of the year. And you can get access to all those numbers with a couple clicks in Genie. So if you've been through the headache of trying to crunch numbers in spreadsheets or through some other means, I think you might appreciate how simple and how easy that is. So we think Genie can make your life a lot easier as a reseller just through those reports. We also offer sales analytics so that you can really drill into your business and see what's selling, how much money you're making. And I think that's about all I'm going to share for the moment.
So for those of you guys who don't know, we do have 2 plans right now, basic and premium. The difference between the 2 is basic, or I should say premium, gives you the sales analytics that Paul just showed you, as well as the ability to track other business expenses. And Jen has kind of highlighted the importance of doing that because, you can get deductions if you're tracking your other business expenses and so many other things. And it also gives you a big picture view into, is your is your business profitable? Which, as we've spoken to a lot of different resellers, it's amazing to me how many resellers think that they're profitable, but they actually aren't because they aren't tracking some of these other numbers. So yeah, so the basic subscription for My Reseller Genie is $9.99 a month, and then premium is $14.99 a month. There is a coupon code in the description if you are going to be signing up as a new user. There it is, MRG Live 15. It is all capital letters, so just make sure to do that, and that will be expiring at the end of this week. So, all right, we are going to get back to this. Jen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right.
All right. And guys, just a reminder, as soon as we get through these last questions, we're going to open up the floor and, well, the chat, in other words, and we will get to any other questions that Jen did not answer. All right, Jen, are there any expense categories that resellers should really talk to their CPA about before claiming as a deduction?
So this is an interesting question.
It is. Yeah.
I just talked to a reseller the other day who said, I contacted my CPA and they told me to drop everything off and they would call me when my return is done. And I was kind of put off a little bit by that because there's so many questions. So if there's anybody in here whose tax return I've worked on, you know that you get emails from me several times in between when you drop off your stuff and when I finish a tax return. Sometimes we even have to do a Zoom session so that we can go through questions. So the things that you want to make sure that you're talking to your CPA or your tax advisor about are things like business use of home. What spaces in your home are exclusively being used for your reselling business? What percentage of your cell phone, of your internet, can you take for business? These are things that need to be discussed with a tax advisor to determine how to best approach those. Other areas that you really want to make sure that you're clear on are things like we were talking about before. Should I depreciate this? Let's say that you get a really fancy new label printer. Do I need the expense this year, or should I be spreading that out over multiple years? So essentially, I mean, I'm not saying this just because I'm a CPA, because if you come to me or if you go to someone else, that's your prerogative. But you really need to have someone who's on your side in your business, helping you to navigate how to take those expenses, making sure that your inventory is set up correctly. Those are just really important things. If you want to make a big purchase, do I make that purchase in December of this year? Or if I don't need it this year, is it better if I make it in January or February of next year? So those are kind of those tax planning things that as you get deeper into your business and want it to grow bigger, you're going to want to have somebody advising you on. So there's not one specific category, but just overall, those are kind of some of the questions that whoever's working with you should be asking and helping you with.
Really good. Thank you for that, Jen. All right. You can ask the next one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you kind of covered this. I've heard that I can write off part of my mortgage as a home office deduction if I use some of my house for my business. Are home office deductions an audit red flag?
No, I've heard this so many times this year. Our home office deductions and audit red flag. No. So if you are using a space exclusively in your home for your business, you are legitimately able to take those expenses as a deduction, a home office deduction. So I've been talking with people about what an audit could potentially entail. And I've been doing this for over 30 years. Particularly with home-based business owners. I've been doing home office use for years with people. If you are actually using the space, it's a deduction. Here's how an audit would work. So in all these years, and I always knock on wood when I say this, but I haven't never had a client be audited from front to back on a tax return, everything. I've had what we call a mail audit, where they will send a request to a taxpayer and they will say, can you substantiate your mileage deduction? You send them your mileage log. Can you substantiate your business use of home? You take some pictures of your space, you send them copies of your mortgage interest statement, your property taxes, and your utility bills, and they send you back a note and say, okay, thank you, and you're done. So if you are taking a legitimate expense, there should be no fear of an audit because you've got substantiation to provide if they would ask for it. Once you substantiate that thing, they're usually, that's it, it's over. So yes, if you have a space that's exclusively used for your reselling, which we've all got, I've got a 10 by 10 bedroom in my house. That's the posh room. It's scary. I actually did a video of it in my group, but that room is a business use of home and I'm taking it on my tax return. So it is not an audit red flag that I know of. And I've been doing this for a little while. So.
You would know.
Yes, yeah, I think you
I would know. I think I would know. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. If I buy an item that ends up being free or cheaper because of a rebate, what would my cost of goods be? And that actually kind of goes along with Trisha's question here. And Jen, I don't know, would that be two separate questions? Like, if you get something for free or if you get something for cheaper, I will leave that up to you if you want to split the two questions.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of address that in a couple of parts. So if you get an item for free, your cost of goods sold is 0. So most of my inventory is free stuff. My husband does construction. He comes home with trailers full of stuff. We sort through the trailers full of stuff and we sell it. Our cost of goods sold on that is 0. If you use a rebate, then you have a couple of ways that you can look at that. So any of you that are from the upper Midwest who shop at Menards know that they always have this 11% off thing. And when I go and I spend my 11% off, I take that off of whatever I bought. So I actually try to spend my rebates on just personal stuff rather than things that are going to be used for business, because essentially it's whatever cash went out of your hand for that particular item. So kind of being, I want to say I'm leaning a little bit toward the safe side of that. I would say that it's just the amount of cash that you outlaid for that particular item that you could claim as an expense.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah, if you get something for free, then you've got no cost of goods sold.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
All right, we're looking at this next question here.
It seems like the same question,
Yeah,
so we'll just move past it.
Cool.
Okay, do you file at the end of the year or do it quarterly?
So there's an it depends. So it depends on your tax situation. I think I did 4 or 5 returns today. And one return was a single mom with several children who had a pretty substantial amount of income. But when the credits all came in, the child credit, the earned income tax credit, etc., she was still getting a refund. Okay, so would only have to file at the end of the year. Now, let's say that this is your only source of income. You're a single taxpayer and you really have no, other things going on. You may want to pay quarterly. A third scenario, you have a W-2 job. We're not going to call it a regular job. We're just going to call it a W-2 job. You have a W-2 job and a reselling business. You can modify what's being withheld from your W-2 job to cover your taxes, and then you only have to file once a year. This, again, is one of those tax planning things that I take care of when I do your taxes. Do we need to pay quarterly? Do we just want to up our withholding? Or are we going to have enough credits that we don't even need to worry about it? So the answer to that question is it depends.
All right.
Makes sense.
Good. Good. All right. How much of what you earn after fees should you save for taxes?
Guess what? It depends. Because we're back to that single mom doesn't need to save anything, right? Because her credits are going to offset any self-employment tax that she would have owed. If you're in the 10% tax bracket, you would actually want to set aside 25% because you've got 10% income tax plus 15.3% self-employment tax, plus a little bit for your state tax, whatever, or not, depending on what state you live in. If you're in the 22% tax bracket, right, then you're going to need to save about 40% of whatever it is after your fees, because you're going to have 22% federal, 15.3% self-employment, and then whatever your state amount is. So first year, I tell everyone to save between 20 and 30%, just so that we've got this little savings account sitting over there if we need it. So if you have the little savings account sitting over there, if you need it, it's there. If you don't need it, you can go on a vacation, you can go out for dinner, you can buy a new car because you got the money sitting there. So there's no harm, no foul if you're saving the money. So I always tell my first year sellers to set aside between 20 and 30%. But once we've got a year or two of taxes under our belt, we can get a really close estimate as how much you need to set aside.
Awesome. That's great. And for those of you guys who don't know, just because I think this kind of piggybacks off of that, in my Reseller Genie, if you are not currently using it, there is a feature where you can actually add in your income or your estimated income tax rates into Genie. So Genie's going to do all the calculations for you. So, if you file with Jennifer and, she tells you, all right, we have a few years under our belts, you need to be setting aside 24%. You can enter in that percentage into my Reseller Genie, and it kind of does all the work for you as far as, telling you how much roughly you should be setting aside so that you don't have to be, running all those calculations for you and kind of freaking out at the end of the year. All right.
Right.
Guys, we have just a few more questions, and then we are going to open up the floor, the chat floor, for any other questions that were not addressed.
All right. This is a good one. Do you have to register as a business?
Okay. So I'm going to give you the old it depends again, but with some kind of clarity here. So you can run a reseller business as what's called a sole proprietor. You don't have to do a thing. You just get your Poshmark account, your eBay account, your Mercari account, and you start selling things. The nice thing with working with the platforms is that they all handle the sales tax for you. Essentially, they just give you whatever the net is. So you can run as a sole proprietor for as long as you want. You can do a single member LLC, get yourself a federal employer ID number, and run as a business with an actual name if you would like. Once you start considering this as you're either going to go like big full-time or even have it as a part-time business, you probably want to do that. So you probably want to go with the single member LLC and the federal ID number. Now, as your business grows, we start talking about, is it time to actually create an S corporation? We get to that point with some of our businesses because it's in your best interest from a tax perspective. So most resellers do not need to register as a business and get a sales tax permit or anything like that, unless, and that's why I say it depends. I had a reseller the other day who is selling completely through Facebook groups. She has to collect sales tax herself for the sales that she has in her own state. So if you are selling down an avenue where sales tax is not being collected on what you are selling, then you may have a different situation. So when I talk to new resellers, when I do consultations and coaching calls with new resellers, what platforms are you selling on? What state do you live in? How are you selling your items? If you're selling them just, in Facebook groups and you're selling items that are taxable in your state, we may need to go the whole business route and get a sales tax number. So, so the answer to that is no, not necessarily do you need to register as a business, but there's some questions that I would ask you to make that determination.
Awesome. Okay. Jen, thank you for that. And then last question that we have here written down, and I think probably a lot of people are wondering this, is can you share your services that you're offering right now? If anything, do you have any availability? Guys, by the way, I didn't mention this, but well, you guys, if you know anything about taxes, you probably realize that Jennifer is in the middle of tax season right now, and she has been swamped. She's just so kind to be spending all this time with us tonight. So again, Jennifer, thank you so much for that. So yes, do you have any services that you're offering right now to resellers? And also, do you offer any help with setting up My Reseller Genie for people if they were interested in that?
Okay. Yep. So I do have a package to help you set up your Reseller Genie, get everything in order, make sure that you've got everything set up appropriately, and that you know how to run your reports. And I can give you guys a link to how to set up that appointment here in a minute. I also do coaching calls with new resellers. Essentially what that is we talk through what you're doing, what your plans are. Do you want to make this full-time, part-time? And we put together kind of a plan of attack. I give you homework and so that you can get your business set up on the right foot. I have a course called the Financially Organized Reseller that you can take, which again starts you from basic accounting concepts through how to set up your systems, through how to manage cost of goods sold, retirement planning for self-employed people, and a variety of other topics. So that's an 8-week course. I have a course called Navigating the Schedule C that just essentially tells you what all you can deduct, what I'm looking for when I do your Schedule C, and kind of helps you know what you should be keeping track of. So, and then we have the free group, the Reseller CPA, which is on Facebook, and you can follow me. There's a lot of free stuff out there. There's videos. I actually have a free little spreadsheet that you can use if you're not quite ready to go with one of the software packages that's out there. But yeah, so right now I did shut down new tax client appointments just for a little while because we need to get caught up. We are what I call a 2-man show. It's me and my sidekick, Courtney, who is also an accountant. But we only will take what we feel comfortable doing because we want to make sure that we're giving everybody the best service that we can. So new client tax appointments are closed right now. They may reopen next week, depending on how caught up we can get. And then we will also be opening up what we call extension appointments, which means that you make an appointment, we file an extension, and we do your tax return sometime after April 18th. So those are the ways essentially that you can work with me. Joining the Facebook group is your best first start because I put all the links to all the fun stuff in there.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, guys. So her Facebook page is called the Reseller CPA. And then also if you click on the description in this video, you can see how to access her website, where you can follow her on Instagram. And I believe also there's the direct link to her Facebook group as well. So if you're interested in any of the services that she just discussed, just go to her website. And Jennifer, can they email you from your website if they have any questions?
Yes. They can contact me from the website. There's a contact me little button on there where they can click that and it'll come directly to me.
Perfect. Okay.
Awesome.
Wonderful. All right, guys. This is great because it is before 9 and we know that this is a topic that can cause people's eyes to glaze over. So we are done with the written questions that we got. We're going to go through the chat now. If you haven't already put any questions in the chat, if anything wasn't answered tonight, go ahead and do that right now. But we're going to be answering them chronologically in the way that they came in. So Jen, thank you so much again for being here. And do you want to just go ahead and
so let's start with Joy's here. All right. So say you are a new reseller starting out. At which point should you consider whether to make the transition from a hobby to a business as the IRS defines those terms?
Okay, so I think you should always be a business. If you consider yourself a hobby, you can't write off anything. Nothing at all. So they changed the hobby rules couple of years ago, and you have to claim all your income. So I suggest being a business right off the bat.
Nice.
Good answer. Clear answer.
Yes. All right. And for part two, we kind of covered this already about incorporating as an LLC. So you can start out as a sole proprietorship and then maybe
Correct.
talk to your accountant about transitioning to an LLC later on.
Yep, absolutely. And so the second part of that question that just popped up, it says, or just claim income on the 1099. So I want to clarify that. A 1099 is the form that you receive from the platform that you sold things on. A Schedule C is the tax form that you will prepare on your tax return to report that income and the corresponding expenses. So the 1099 you receive, you put all of that information onto a Schedule C on your tax return.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
All right, looking through the questions. Again, guys, if you're just joining us, go ahead and drop any questions in the chat, and we will get to those in the order that they come in.
All right, so we covered Trisha's.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do Demetria's. When adding inventory, do you add the tax paid as the total cost or just what the item was before tax?
Add the tax. Whatever cash went out of your hand, put it down. So yes, it's the total cost, including sales tax.
Awesome. All right, so Trisha says she's a military wife, stay-at-home mom.
Trisha, that is not a dumb question. No question is a dumb question, especially when it comes to accounting, okay?
Nope.
All right, so they filed jointly. Reseller tax stuff needs to be combined with that in filing, correct?
Correct. Yep. And so essentially your tax return will include all of the income sources if you're a sole proprietor. So your W-2 income, interest income, dividends, reseller income, all of those things will all go on the same tax return. Yes.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
All right, guys, this is your last chance. Any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. And man, guys, if we're going to end early, that's actually that's wonderful, because that means that this will be a shorter video and it'll feel a little bit more just like easy to kind of walk through and listen to at the end. And also so many people wrote into us with questions already. So we covered a lot. Thank you guys for that. All right, I think that is it. Everybody who's on right now, or if you're going to be watching the replay, please send us an email or a DM and let us know if this was helpful, or leave us a comment in the chat. Let us know if this was helpful. If you would like to do something like this again, Jennifer, I won't put you on the spot in case you really aren't enjoying being with us tonight. But if this would be helpful, to have something like this again or in the future, please let us know. Send us a message and let us know about that. It looks like we did just get a few more questions. Jennifer, do you have a?
Yep, we did.
Awesome.
Yeah, and there's one that I specifically want to make sure that we tackle, and it's that one.
Awesome.
I'm not sure if you already answered, but if I'm selling an item that I purchased for myself and I'm now selling it. So this is the items from your personal closet question. I love this question. So let's say that 12 years ago, you bought a shirt and you paid $25 for it and it's hanging in your closet. And you're like, gosh, I don't really want to wear that shirt anymore. I'm going to throw it on Poshmark and see if I can sell it. You sell that shirt for $12. You originally purchased it for $25. You sell it for $12. It's an accounting concept called the lower of cost or market. So essentially, anything from your personal closet has a zero profit. Okay. So anything that you pulled from your own closet, essentially the cost of goods sold is going to be equal to whatever profit you would have made on it. So you net it to zero. We call it netting it to zero. So if you sold it for 12, your cost of goods sold is 12. Your profit on that is zero. Okay. You can't show a loss on it because it's from your own personal closet, but you definitely don't have to pay taxes on that. It's what we call a non-taxable event.
Nice.
Great. All right.
All right, we got a garage question.
Yep.
So I use my garage for reselling. Can this be counted as a deduction for taxes? The room is used for other things as well.
Maybe already
If it's
addressed
used
it.
for other things, no. It has to be exclusively used for business. So if you park your cars in there, no. If it's completely used for business, and I've got some resellers who no longer park their cars in their garage and move their toolboxes out to another shed because their entire garage is for reselling now, then yes, it's a deduction and it's part of the business use of home deduction. It has to be used exclusively for business to be considered a business use of home.
All right. So Trisha's wondering, it's better to be a business versus a hobby. Is it still okay to use my social security number versus an EIN number?
Yep,
I know
absolutely.
Versus business. Absolutely. Awesome.
Yep. You can use your social security number. I like getting an EIN, and I suggest getting an EIN so that you do not have to share your social security number.
Gotcha.
But it's okay. And all of those sites are encrypted. Like when you put it in on Poshmark or eBay or Mercari, those are all encrypted. So it's not like you're handing someone a W-9 with your number on it and you're not sure if they're shredding it or not. So it's less worrisome when you're filling it in online.
Gotcha. Great.
Okay.
And then Kat, it's so great to have you here.
All right. So I gave my accountant the cost of goods purchased for 2021. My cost of goods sold was higher because I did more consignment. Should I have given him the cost of goods sold?
So I'm not completely clear on this question, but I'm going to talk a little bit about consignment. So first of all, your accountant should have asked you that question. What's included in this number? Because you should have had your beginning inventory plus your purchases minus your ending inventory should have given the cost of goods sold. If your accountant did not ask that question and just took the number that you handed them and popped it in a form, I'm going to take a deep breath, and you should possibly consider, making a move. But I'm not saying that they did a terrible job. But if you did consignment and you only got a portion of the proceeds, that's all you should be claiming. Okay, that's all you should be claiming. So all you should be claiming as income is what you actually received. So if you took things to a place and sold them on consignment, I'm gonna look at it that way first. The only part that you're gonna claim as income is what you received. If you took people's stuff in and sold it on consignment and gave them part of it, then whatever you gave to the person whose stuff you were selling, that's an expense to you. So consignment is like a whole different ballgame. And I've done tax returns for consignment shops. Typically, they're not actually buying the stuff. It's just coming into their shop on consignment. They get part of it when they sell it, and they give part of it to whoever owned it. So consignment is kind of a different animal, but you still should only be paying taxes on the money you kept. Nothing more than that.
Gotcha. Okay, question from Cindy. My accountant didn't recommend an EIN number until I was bringing in more profit, and they are because I would have to file quarterly. Is this correct?
No, filing having an EIN don't correlate at all. The EIN number is so that you don't have to share your social security number, and typically you could get an EIN number as an individual or as a business. So until you were bringing in more profit. So, I mean, a lot of businesses get their EIN before they've brought in even a nickel. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. You can get the EIN when you start your business. And a lot of people never have to file quarterly, even when they're self-employed. I've been self-employed for 30 plus years. I've never paid quarterly installments because either me or my spouse has always had a job where we could adjust our withholding. So I've always adjusted it that way and never paid in quarterly. So Yeah, an EIN number has really nothing to do with profit, and it doesn't have anything to do with filing quarterly.
Gotcha. All right, thank you for that. All right, it looks like the questions are done. All right, guys, we are just going to go ahead and wrap up a little bit early tonight. Thank you guys so much for everyone who joined. Jennifer, again, thank you so much. I want to remind you. Yeah, I want to remind everybody, you are welcome, Daniela. I really want to hammer this hard. If you're watching this on replay, or if you're still on with us right now and you're feeling overwhelmed, we get it. Okay, this is a lot of like new information, but I just want to speak from my heart, because I do not have an accounting background like these two do, like Jennifer does and like Paul does. This sort of stuff can feel very foreign and scary to me, but guys, I have learned. And it's not scary anymore. So I just want to throw that out to you guys. And you guys might be thinking, oh, well, she's probably really, really smart. And, honestly, guys, my brain is not wired to understand numbers like this, but I have learned. So I just want to encourage you guys with that. Also, we are here. Paul and I are here. Jennifer, she mentioned the services that she offers. Guys, like the three of us have a heart to help resellers, just overcome these fears, and just help you guys learn how to properly account for your businesses and empower you guys so that, so that you aren't stressed out, so that you aren't fearful. And yeah, so Jennifer's information is in the description. Guys, please go ahead and give her a follow on her Instagram account. She's fairly new on Instagram. Go ahead and follow her Facebook page, which is free for everyone, and it is growing rapidly. Check out her website and the services that she offers. And then we would also just say, guys, if you're not using My Reseller Genie yet, please go ahead and at least check out our website. We are offering a promotional code for tonight, and it will last through this coming Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are giving you guys 15% off of your first month with the coupon code MRGLive15. And guys, that is all capital letters, so make sure to do that because it's case sensitive. And I think that's it. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, just thanks so much, Jen. This was wonderful having you here.
So
thanks to everyone who
Yeah.
tuned in and watched and
Yes.
submitted questions. It was a good time for all of us.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yep. And yeah, like those guys mentioned, I have a passion for helping small business owners get started and be profitable. That's the goal. And so the numbers part helps you to reach those goals.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. All right, guys. Have a fantastic night.
Yep.
All right. Take care.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.